here at Vapor Central at 667 Yonge Street on the second floor for part of the Karma Cup Speaker Series.
So we're at Vapor Central 2018 Karma Cup Speaker Series.
So my next speaker, actually, we're going to skip the breaks that we had originally had scheduled because we're a little bit behind schedule today because of technical difficulties. It is my extreme pleasure to welcome back to the Karma Cup stage Allison Gordon from 48 North Cannabis Company, recently licensed for production last year as a licensed producer. And she is here to talk to those in the community and those in the room about how to finance your cannabis business. 48 North Cannabis Company raised a lot of funding to get themselves off the ground, and it took a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication. And Allison is going to share with us some of the strategies she used to find that money to make it happen. So thank you very much, and please welcome Allison Gordon.
Thank you. Hi, thank you. So I'm trying to think where to begin in all of this. Thank you, Tracy, for those kind words. And I love being part of the Karma Cup. I think it's an amazing event in the city, and the community is awesome in all the support. So I'm happy to be part of it. Yeah, I mean, last time that I spoke here, it was a couple years ago, and I was talking about the opportunity for people and companies who are operating in the gray market to come and be part of the legal market. And so this talk is probably a bit of an extension on that. I mean, one of the things that I think is really important to understand is that with legalization, there is a lot that needs to happen and that it will take time for all of these opportunities to roll out, like retail and distribution and everything that is required to have a real market. And one of the things that's very challenging for the licensed producers, including ourselves at 48 North, is the regulations around marketing and advertising. So we're really not allowed to do much of that in any official way. And this can really create challenges when we're all trying to create brands and consumer engagement and differentiate ourselves amongst the other licensed producers. And this is where I see and have always seen a huge opportunity for people who are already creating products and brands in the gray market to come in and bring a lot of value. And I think this is one of the biggest opportunities out there for those that are interested. So really the question is, how do you do that? And that's something that a lot of people come to our office and talk to us about, whether they have an edibles company or a vape pen company. They're trying to figure out how they can get into this legal market. Now, one of the biggest challenges around that today is that a lot of these products are not yet part of the program. So as it stands today, you really can only sell flower and this, the extract that's fairly limited. So no edibles, no vape pens, no creams, no cosmetics, the sex oils, all these products that exist here in the gray market or in the US in the legal market, we don't yet have yet. But all the licensed producers like ourselves are getting ready for that and trying to figure out how we're going to differentiate ourselves, how we're going to create these products and brands. And that's where the real opportunity lies if someone is interested in getting into the legal market. So really what I have always said is the most important thing is to talk to as many people as you can. So to come knock on our door and come and sit down and talk to us about what your product and brands are all about. And if there is an alignment and a meeting of the minds, there are a couple different ways that I see licensed producers doing this. One, of course, would be to say, okay, we think you have a great product, IP, the way that you're making your edible or your pen or whatever is something that seems really unique or just something that people are really liking, and you have a great brand, something that we know people are really interested in. So one option is that somebody would license your brand, and in that case, they might give you a flat fee to have exclusivity, because that's one of the things licensed producers are really interested in, is having exclusivity. And I think sometimes people or companies are, that are coming from the gray market are used to selling their products all over. But as I said, the licensed producers are really interested in trying to differentiate themselves and have something that nobody else has. So they're really going to look for exclusivity. And I think that you shouldn't be scared of exclusivity. If you find a partner that you think is aligned with your vision for your company or aligned with the vision for your products and what they're doing is something you're interested in, then I wouldn't be scared to say that you're going to work exclusively with them. On a licensing deal, it might just be that, as I said, they're going to pay you a flat fee to have the exclusivity and then give you a royalty on all the products that they create and sell. Now, as I said, right now, they can't actually sell these products. So that's a really big part of this equation, is really deciding when you want to come into the legal market. If you're building a brand or you have a brand and you want to build it stronger, if you do an exclusive deal with a licensed producer, once they've done that deal, you obviously can't continue selling that product or brand into the gray market. No licensed producer that I know would take the chance and say that you could continue to, that they'd be aligned with a product that's not legal. So timing is really key, because when a product or brand isn't in market for a year, let's say, then consumers move on to another product. And the question is, will they still be there and loyal to your product and brand? And I think that there's different ways to look at that. I mean, one of the things that licensed producers, some might be nervous about, is working with somebody who's very active in the gray market. So you could say taking a break and actually having a period of time in there where you're not selling or doing anything might be helpful, because you still have the IP of what you've created, you still have the brand. And that's the thing about brands today, is that they can really live anywhere and everywhere. We see this all over the place, where companies create lifestyle brands and then they move into product brands and vice versa, meaning that yes, you may have an edible company with an edible brand. Let's say it's called Edible X. The question is, if you want to, you can build that Edible X brand outside of the sale of cannabis. Maybe it's events, maybe it's content, maybe it's how-to videos, something that keeps your brand active and alive with your consumer, which of course will have value for the licensed producer. So when someone's licensing, it may be that they just want to license the brand, they're going to produce it. You might create some standard operating procedures or give them the procedures, and then they're going to put it on a shelf and wait for edibles to be allowed in the market. And they might want to know that you're continuing to build that brand. And I think having that kind of plan going into the licensed producer and saying, we want to do a deal, here's the value, we would love for you to be the exclusive partner and license this, and during this period of time and continuing on, here's how we're going to build out the brand and make our own revenue. And that's a really great option as well, because you're going to be relying on the licensed producer to be selling this product into the market, but what are other ways that you can continue growing that brand and making your own revenue? And that really can be by thinking about who is your audience and what else might they want from you and trust in you. So if everybody absolutely loves your edible product and loves your brand, they might trust you in other categories. As I said, maybe you can create content or show people, how to do things at home, and just make sure that you have that continued engagement. The other way that licensed producers might want to work with you, if you're open to that, is to come into their business. So to come in as a product developer. And so that's different in terms of the equity that you own in your business, or being, having the revenue come in through the licensing. And if your brand really hits it and they're selling a ton of your product, you're going to be making money off of every sale versus being an employee. But I think there is value in that. Many of the licensed producers, most of the licensed producers, are really startup. So while they will pay salaries, they also often can give equity in the company. And so you can look at it and say, okay, hey, I think I have a lot of value. I know how to do this. I know how to create a brand. And I'm going to come in-house and bring in my brand and work for the company and take equity as part of that. And I can help build that brand and other brands within the company. And I think it's a really valid way to do it. You're part of the team and you're saying, together with everybody else, we're going to make the value of this company worth a lot more, and therefore the money and my equity in this company will be worth more. So I wouldn't discount that as a way of moving forward and looking at it as, well, I'm taking a job and I don't want to take a job. I've already been running a business for many years. But when you have equity in the company, you know, you're a small owner in that company. And I think that that's really valuable as well. The other thing that's going to happen, I mean, everything's going to change over time, and we really have no way of knowing how this is going to go. But I urge everybody to keep in mind that while you may have a successful product and brand that people love and like, and maybe you're, you know, social media famous or whatever it might be, the fact of the matter is when you're up against companies that have hundreds of millions of dollars in marketing budgets, they have the ability to create products and brands. While they might not be as authentic, and I truly believe that authentic brands are the successful brands, at the same time, we know that most of Canadians don't know a lot of these products and brands by name that exist in the gray market. So it wouldn't be too hard for licensed producers with big budgets to recreate brands. So timing is really key. If you were saying to yourself, well, I'm going to wait, I'm sure they'll give out licenses for edible companies in a few years. I mean, who knows? I don't see that happening anytime in the near future. So the other thing is that some licensed producers are very open to allowing you to operate out of their facility. So really what happens there is that it's you're leveraging their license, you're doing something legally within their facility, but it's really over to you on the sales side and distribution. Now, of course, right now you would need to have a license to get into sales and distribution, but maybe there's a way that you can work with that licensed producer to use their license or they use their sales and distribution side, but it's your money, your investment, you're setting up some form of an infrastructure within their facility. So I think that's a really interesting model. It allows you to continue to run your business and really just work with that licensed producer's license to be in the legal market. So hold on, Tracy was giving me the time symbol. The last thing I'll say, because really speaking about raising money, you know, I know that there are people out there who are interested in getting into products and brands. And again, if you say to yourself, I don't even want to do this in partnership yet, I want to continue building this, I think there is opportunity to go to investors or some of the investment funds and say, I'm going to be taking this product and brand into the legitimate market. I think you're in a much better position if you do have a licensed to say, I already have a partner. I'm going to work within their facility to build this company and to ultimately get my own license, or however you see it moving forward. And I think that lots of people know that this world that we live in really is about brands. I always say you can grow the potatoes or you can be McCain's. So, you know, the brands are where you see the huge value. Of course, you must have a good product, and everybody here today has been speaking about how to have that good product. But assuming that that's what you have have value as someone who has a brand, especially in our market, which doesn't really allow for much of marketing and branding. So I would love to talk to anybody who's interested, and I know many other licensed producers will. So thank you all for listening, and I hope it was a little helpful way to think about how you might move into this new, crazy legal world of cannabis.
Questions. So this
I thought I was done.
Oh no,
okay.
This is the fun part. Of
okay,
my job,
okay,
right?
Tracy.
What's the point of doing this if I can't ask the important questions?
Okay.
So what do you think is the biggest misconception about the new legal landscape?
Well, I think the biggest misconception is that everybody has a ton of money. That's truly not the case. It costs a lot of money to run these facilities, a lot. And yes, of course, there's a handful of companies, we see them in the news with hundreds of millions of dollars, but out of, I think there's about 58 sales licenses that exist right now. I would say the majority of them are, you know, struggling because we don't have a robust distribution infrastructure, obviously not at all on the recreational side. And so it's a lot of speculation and waiting to be able to do the things that we want to do to be able to make money. So I think that's the misconception. And so for people who are looking to enter into the legal market, and they come and they say, okay, I have this amazing edible product. I sell tons of it into the gray market. And so I'm worth, $20 million and that's what you're going to pay me. It's like, no, everybody has to set their standards much lower and be willing to. I always say, if you believe in what you have, then you believe I'm going to sell a shitload of what you have. So therefore, you'll make money on the royalty.
There are a lot of high expectations.
High expectations, no doubt.
So another question is, because you talked about this and then we're talking about the money, is did you have issues sourcing investment or even banking based on stigma because of cannabis? I know some people are having issues with banking. They're having issues with, that might be me.
I don't know.
They're having issues with banking. They're having issues with sourcing capital. No issues with that for your 48 North?
No, I mean, look, there's no banking issue, but in terms of raising money, it seems like a never-ending endeavor in some ways because, as I said, you're raising, it costs a lot of money to do what you're doing, and you don't really have a sales channel. I always say, imagine building a business plan where you don't really know who or where or why or how you could actually sell, even in 6 weeks' time.
Yeah.
So definitely there's ups and downs in the raising of money in the legal market. There's times where everybody's in a frenzy, but it is definitely challenging, and I would say even more challenging if you don't have a license, for sure.
So I can't actually let you present without actually bringing it up, but the fact is that you're a female CEO of 48 North, and you are a female-centric company.
Yes.
So why do you think that's important, and why do you think that gives you an edge?
Okay. So one of the things that I've been stressing is how competitive it is in our industry, whether you're in the legal or market or gray market. And really, 48 North is not a huge company. So to me, I always think, where is that niche that I can play authentically and that there's a gap? And really, having been in the legal market now since 2013, I have the gap has been pretty glaring. Tracy, you could say the same, that there is very few women in the legal industry. It's changing a lot and quickly over the past year, but in 2013, 14, 15, 16, even 17, most of the meetings I'm in are men, everything's men. And I'm a cannabis user and have been for longer than I can remember. So it kind of hit me, which is like, why is nobody speaking to me? Like, I am the biggest consumer. Women are huge consumers. And I just said,
responsible for 85% of the household purchases, just in case anyone forgot.
Or 93% of over-the-counter medications. I mean, if you think about who buys for the children, their parents, themselves, their husband, and women use cannabis. I never understood this. I mean, we're all, there's big talk of the industry 2.0, it isn't about Cheech and Chong and all of that stuff. But to me, I still say that representation, I can't even think of on the level of a Cheech and Chong or a Snoop Dogg, a woman represented in any way. So for me, I think women are really going to reward companies who are authentically working with them. And one of the things that there was an article in the Globe and Mail that was saying, do women need their own cannabis, and sort of slagging on this idea. And I just want to say that's missing the point completely. I mean, yes, there might be certain unique products like maybe menstrual cramp supplements or whatever, but nobody's saying there's a whole different set of genetics or way of growing. It's really like anything else. How do you target that consumer, make it in ways that appeal to them?
In the same way in prohibition has affected women differently. Legalization will affect women differently, as far as I'm concerned. Prohibition affected women in a ways that they had to fear losing their children. They had to fear the social stigma. Women had a lot more to fear. Upon an arrest, a man doesn't have to also worry about being sexually assaulted. There's a number of stories over the years about women's issues with prohibition. I think there's going to be a story for women under legalization as well. And I would like to thank you for helping author that. Well, no, please, whatever you'd like to say.
No, I was going to say that, people, I often get asked, why are there not more women? And I do believe that under prohibition, it was much more difficult for women to come out and acknowledge that they were cannabis users, cannabis growers in the industry in any way, shape, or form. But even just on the consumer side, even if they weren't part of the business. Oh, I mean, consumers are a part of the business of cannabis. I always like to say that too. But it was more difficult for women, as you said, if they were going through a divorce, there could be child issues. So I think that as the industry evolved into the legal side of it, it was harder for women also to take that type of career risk. Women are often responsible for their family, and this industry is still, and especially in 2013, very risky. While not risky for jail, risky for in terms of getting a paycheck because of the startup side. So I do think that that's the issue now. And for myself running a public company, I don't have any role models of women, never mind cannabis or outside, really that this language is something I've had to learn completely from the ground up. And it really hit me that I have a ton of amazing, successful female friends who are killing it in their careers, but it's not in the public company sphere, in which, so I don't even, understand aspects of this. And that to me is amazing. I mean, I was doing a PhD, I'm an educated woman. This language is completely foreign to me.
And just to put this out there for those of you that are watching and that don't know, the Karma Cup itself is actually produced by a woman by the name of Sarah Sunday.
Yes, Sarah's amazing.
Karma Cup Speaker Series was produced by me. So
and Tracy's amazing
so
too.
We do have
women.
And so the fact is that we do have a lot of women in this industry, but what we have is a lot of women in the industry that are doing the work, not the talk.
Does it sound familiar? Of everything? Yeah, I and that's what I always say as well. And I hope I was clear in what I was saying to you, Tracy, is I'm talking about the legal regulated market. And I have no doubt, and I know that there are many, 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 many women working in this industry. The question is trying to get everybody to come into this side.
And that's why we're glad to have you, and we're glad to have our next speaker so we can talk about how all of those women can transition into the legal industry and how you can transition your business as well. So thank you very much, Allison.
Thank you to Sarah.
For being part of our speaker series. And we're going to take a short 10-minute break while we do some technical readjustment, and we'll be back with our next speaker. Stay tuned.
And also, if you're anywhere near Toronto, come on down to Vapor Central here for today and tomorrow. More speakers tomorrow.